Hi there, thanks for tuning into my channel. I invite you to stick around with me today and paint these violets in a terracotta pot. Today I'll be using my size 6 Intuition round brush, my Mei Liang student watercolor palette, and I'll be painting on 300 GSM watercolor paper by B Paper Company. Let's get started. So I realized today that I haven't done violets in a very long time, and so I want to fix that today and just paint some violets, trying to decide whether to paint them in a terracotta planter pot or in a glass jar. So since I don't know yet about that, I want to just go ahead and get started with my dioxazine violet. Just prepping some on my palette with these nice and loose. Just going to start with some random blobs, lots of pigment in these. Maybe not quite a puddle, but plenty. And I think that's good right there. Rinsing off my brush. And then just going back with a minimal amount of water on my brush, just water, and just touching in a few places. I like to kind of vary up the angles on these. And I feel like this could use a little dab. And that way I have a little bit of gradient in that, where this is darker and this is a little lighter. It just bled a little quickly and easily. So you can see I kind of have the look of 3 petals somewhat. I don't know how much that truly resembles a violet, but I like it. And I feel like it works well. Violets have these kind of rounded leaves, kind of a little bit scallopy maybe. I'm using my deep Hokker's green. And I'm just going to come in and start some leaves, but not necessarily make an entire leaf shape. These are kind of large. My leaves are going to be kind of big, but I'm doing this because I want to be able to have some gradient in there, some bleed. And I'll just start these leaves. Okay. And then just looking around for the leaves that seem to be maybe the driest and starting there with my clean water on my brush, just a clean rinsed brush. Just to kind of loosen this all up. Okay, let's get just some little streamers of vine tendrils kind of things. Just kind of adding a few little stems in here. Those may end up with leaves over them. And then a nice rinse, and I'm going to go back with that dioxazine violet. Just kind of dotting it in inside these flowers. Just kind of in the centers. And I think I'd like one more of these violets out over to the side, over here. Just kind of give it a little bit of a U shape. Maybe one out here too. I want to let that dry for just a second while I get my reddish brown ready. How about a little hint? And then okay, I love that. I even love the bleed there. And I'm going to go quickly into this with just water. That's a lot of water. And then just kind of pull some of that pigment over. And how about just drop some in here? I want to hurry and get to this lower bit. Ooh, that is too far over. Okay, so I may have a little goof there, and that's going to be okay if it ends up a bit too wet. But I'm just kind of painting in this side just with water. I'm going to go all the way across. And this is okay. What I'm going to do is add some more pigment over here. Now I'm going to go ahead and just kind of push some of this and then how about going back with a rinsed brush and just kind of blending. I'm going to put some pigment at the bottom of this. And now I'm mostly rinsing that off, but leaving a bit of residue on my brush to just kind of outline over here. I like to leave some, you know, some without pigment. I think that gives such a nice highlight. And how about a little more pigment over here just to kind of blend that harsh line. Okay, and one more little blend. Brush is rinsed and kind of blotted somewhat. Okay, now I may have passed the point of no return on these violets up here, but I have rinsed and kind of blotted my brush a little, and I'm going to go ahead and see if I can just kind of get something here. Those may need a little more pigment. I very much like that the petals are so faint, but it doesn't go quite with the other flowers that I've made. So let's push a little bit of that. Just trying to have a cohesive look there. Okay, and I'm going to take a good amount of this reddish brown and go right up under that, gosh, what would you call that? And maybe a little more over here, since we have a side over here that goes out a little farther. I think that works fine. Gosh, I cannot for the life of me remember what you call that top part. Then I'm just kind of filling there, and then I'll blend it a bit. The rim. Oh my goodness. Just kind of blank for that word. And before anybody gets too worried about me, I am coming off of a 2-day migraine, so it's yeah, just no fun. Oh gosh, I love this. Just gonna get some more leaves in there, and I kind of want to pull in another green. So before I go too crazy on that deep Hokker's green, I'll go ahead and get some sap green in here. And kind of like to do this as a different kind of leaf, like one of these multi-leaf kind of things. Yeah, I love that. Love it. Let's see, let's get this kind of going like that. And, you know, no stress over these things. If they kind of bleed together, that's really okay. Let's see, just trying to see where I'd like a little of this peeking out. Maybe over here. I just don't want my, I don't want the arrangement of the flowers in here to be too predictable and too symmetric, even if it's just different elements. Not sure if that makes sense. So let me do a little something out here. And then how about up here? Like to do a couple of these sometimes. And sometimes if I go from the top, I want to kind of alternate these, the direction of these stems. I love the sap green incorporated into these other colors and that deep Hokker's green. This, the only thing that I think is it's just a little different. I spaced these leaves a little more, so I'm just making them a little thicker. And then yeah, let's go over the top of this with that leaf. Okay, I like to go back with some of these stems and just run a thin little line for the stem. And you can run that all the way up into that top leaf. And then into some of the leaves, just as a little little detail there. You don't need it on all of them, but just a little vein here and there. I'll come back for that one, hopefully. Hopefully I will not forget. And then let's just get some little pieces of leaves in there, here and there. I have no idea how much of that will survive when we get some more of these violet leaves, but it doesn't really matter. I just want to have plenty of this still peeking out. I don't absolutely love the shape of that, and it's a little big, but that's okay. We're not going to lose our minds over a leaf. Okay, now let's get kind of a light wash of this deep Hokker's green and just start some fill in here. It's kind of behind and in between. Let's see. Love it. And then you can even take your water and just touch some of that too. Just kind of loosening and softening everything up. I think I'll put some of this this sap green. I'm just going to go in some of these blank spaces. Just get some of that in there. And I know it's kind of obscuring some of the detail, you know, the individual leaves in these multi-stems, but I think that that's working just fine. I think it looks quite, I just think it's maintaining that loose look that I'm hoping for. And just soften that up a little. It's a little darker than I'd want up there. So I'm just going to go in with water, loosen that pigment, and then just dab it. I'm loving this. Okay, and now I'm going in with some of the deep Hokker's green, but just a very light wash of it, hopefully. Ah. And just here and there, adding just a little leaf or stem, little vein. And I'd like to get a few more of these little vine, you know, these little things. Maybe curl that one just a little more. Let's see. Get some kind of coming out here, just here and there. I don't want to go crazy with it, but that works for me. And then I'd like to soften this one a little. I just think it's a little harsh. It's a lot. So I'm just adding some water there and kind of brushing that out, pushing at it, pushing at the pigment. Then I may do that same kind of thing with these. Just kind of rough in some leaves. And then go back and dab at that. I kind of like that. And there I'm just dropping in a little more pigment. I dabbed at it and it took a lot of this external pigment out, and I thought it kind of took a little too much. So maybe kind of soften this, and then I'll dab that. And if you think that some of these need a little more back in there, just brush a little water in there, and then you can just drop some pigment in. I like it. Just gives it a little more depth, a little bit of interest. Gosh, these are fun. Really happy with this today. I hadn't painted these in so long. Okay, I want to go in, get my shadow going here. So I think I'd like a lot of this shadow to be behind my pot there, and then just barely to the front, just enough to kind of connect it to the ground or the surface that it's sitting on. So then I'm just taking my Payne'sGrey and dropping it in here. And then I'll probably go all along the bottom here. And then kind of blend this just a little. Maybe enlarge that back there a bit. And go ahead and touch a little more of this pigment. I did touch in here with when I was brushing that water, and I'm not going to let it ruin me, but I am going to kind of brush that out. What I did was I rinsed and blotted my brush, and then I just kind of soaked that out. There will be a bit of a shadow there, and I think that's okay. And maybe dropping in a little more Payne'sGrey. I'm just going to touch right here. Yeah, soften that just a tiny bit. And I love it. Honestly, I think I could just leave it like that and call that finished. Maybe, you know, here I am saying that, but a couple of little places could use a little softening around those stems. I think those stems could be a little softer. Such a delightful time of painting today. I really, really enjoyed this, and I hope you did too. I hope that you will let me know how this painting session today went for you. I'd love to hear about it. Leave a comment. Or save this to paint later. Just softening up a couple of those leaves there. As always, happy painting.